Okay, so this is the Poplar rotten cottonwood bed frame video. This is experimental. There's my butt crack. I got an old cottonwood slab that's pretty rotten throughout, and I'm gonna make a queen-size bed frame out of it. I'm gonna put epoxy in to reconstitute the rot. This is me chainsawing it into a book match piece. Pretty stoked because that took me a while. Here's the slab, and there's all that rot. And the book matched face. There's more rot. Here's the rotten piece. We're cutting it up, making the headboard. There's a piece of poplar that I'm going to use to extend the headboard. And doing the glue up, putting it together. Then I'm going to flatten it out, and I'm using an abrasive cupstone on an angle grinder to get it all kind of flush and flat. These bits are awesome for carving wood. Another angle. And now I'm mixing the epoxy with some color and some Pro-Fill to thicken it up, fill in the holes. That takes a while, it's a bit tedious, but that's going to make that rotten slab nice and hard again. And now I'm onto the footboard, cutting that to roughly the length. Do the same steps over again, cupstone, get all the high spots down. And I'll sand it, go through from 60 grit to 80 grit to 120. And then 120 is about as far as I'll take it. And I'll have to fill that with epoxy as well. For this one, I'm going to back it up with tape, and hopefully it'll fill better from the one side. And mix up some more epoxy, Pro-Fill and color. Squeeze it all in there. This is all experimental, by the way. I've never done this before. But I'm pretty sure it'll work out. So here's the headboard, another level and sand. That's the back side of the headboard. And there's the front side with the epoxy fill, which isn't too bad. Another angle. Get rid of the epoxy. Gonna give it a sand, 60 grit through 120 again. Lots of sanding. So now at this stage I'm cutting it to its exact width that I'm going to need, accounting for the legs and the frame for the mattress size. And now I'm tracing out the recess that the headboard's going to sit in. And I'm using my skill saw as a plunge router to cut through and make the recess. This is tedious work, but it does get the job done. Chiseling out the corners. Little dry fit on this end. Seems to fit nice. Get the other one done. Chisel out those ends again. Dry fit. Width looks good, so I'll glue up time. And I'm going to use a ratchet strap for the clamp in this case, because I don't have any clamps big enough. Well, I was really hoping that these rot voids would be filled in. It's proven to be a bit more difficult than I'd anticipated. I got a headboard underneath here, which has turned out reasonably well. Fairly happy with it. But the footboard, this side is not filled in at all. And this side, I figured filling it in from that side that all these would fill in, and not at all. So we're going to have to do round 2, possibly a round 3 with the epoxy stage on this stuff, which is super disappointing, and it's going to end up adding about a week to the project. So yeah, this is going to take a lot longer to get this video out, and a lot longer for me to have this bed frame in my bedroom. but we've got it started, so we don't really have much of a choice besides to keep going with it to get the epoxy stage done again. Alright, well, I guess there's no time like the present than to just grin and bear it, get on with it, and get this project on the way. Sweet. Gotta love it when this crap happens. Anyways, whole thing's an experiment and a learning experience. We'll get it done. Okay, so here we are grinding off the epoxy from round 1 on the footboard, using that abrasive cupstone again. And then we're going to sand it. Just getting it smooth enough that I can get that tape to stick again, and then we'll fill it with epoxy from the other side of the board. And I'm probably going to go for round 3 of epoxy fill and fill this side again afterward as well. And I think for good measure we're going to refill the headboard too, just to get it better. Lots of tedious sanding. But like I said before, we're into it now, so we're kind of just going to have to keep going. There goes the tape. I forgot to mention before with the tape, I use a heat gun to make sure the tape is stuck down well to the wood, and that really does help stop a lot of the epoxy leak. Grind off any of the excess epoxy from last time, grind off the tape from last time. Brush it off, set it aside, get the headboard back up on the table. Tape up some of the cracks on this headboard. So I'm not filling this side, I'm just going to fill the visible side. And we've got it flipped over, mixing up the epoxy again with some Pro-Fill and some color. Pro-Fill is little glass hollow beads to thicken the epoxy. Being a bit more careful with the epoxy application this time. Don't want to use so much, and not going to need to use so much on this one. Okay, well we finally got it filled with epoxy and grinding it off again with the abrasive bits. I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing you this, it's the same steps over. And now I'm prepping the footboard to put the legs on the footboard and measuring the width and getting the recesses cut out. And match it up with the headboard. Move it down, and then we're going to sand this guy off again. Like I said, I'm not going to show you tons. Oh, here we are on the side rails. We're prepping the live edge side rails with these poplar slabs, and they're pretty cupped, so I've got to take off a fair amount of material. It took some time. And sand, endless sanding. Now we're assembling, putting the side rail brackets on the posts, the center support and the perimeter supports, and starting to finish. Finally getting the oil on. This is a boring process, so I won't show you all that, and we'll jump ahead to the finished product again. So I'm pretty satisfied with the way it turned out. The epoxy filling in the voids of the rot. I think it looks pretty cool. It's a neat little effect. And the headboard. Pretty stoked on that. Interesting looking little thing. Pretty rustic, pretty rough looking. But yeah, that's her. Thanks everybody for watching.